Hi guys, welcome to the channel and welcome more importantly to the world of Meccano. If you're watching this video, there's a strong chance you've got your first Meccano set in front of you, and that's great. This is something that you're really going to enjoy. In this video I'm going to introduce you to the tools and the basic parts, show you how they go together, and then we're going to do the first couple of stages of a simple model to show you how the instructions work. But before we get started with the Meccano, I'm going to recommend that you get something like this, an organiser box to put the parts in. Even a small Meccano set has got a lot of small parts, and if you don't have any way of keeping them organised, you're going to find that you end up losing them. And there's nothing more annoying than trying to make a model and finding out that you've lost some of your parts along the way. So, here we go. The set I've got here is the Meccano 5-in-1 motorbikes and cars set, and I've got it nicely organised into my box so that I know I'm not going to lose the parts. These are the tools that you get with every Meccano set, and these are all that you need to put every model together. You get this, which is called a hex key because the shape at the end is the shape of a hexagon, and that fits nicely into the end of a Meccano bolt so that you've got a nice tight grip on that there. You've got a spanner, and you use this for tightening the nuts. They fit nicely into there, or if you need to hold the nut to push it forward in where you can't reach with your fingers, you can do it with that. A lot of the time it's easier just to start threading the nut and bolt with your fingers and then tighten up when you've got them something like, and that's great when you've got the space to do that. To tighten a nut you need to turn it in a clockwise direction, or right. And that's the phrase for you doing that is righty-tighty, which tightens it up, or lefty-loosey, which loosens it off. That's how engineers for years and years have remembered which direction to turn nuts and bolts in. Now, what you're going to be doing is using the nuts and bolts to attach the pieces together. And that's where we start with these. So you're going to put the nut through there, get your second piece, put the nut through there, so the joined. Then you're going to put the bolt on the end of it, start threading it with your fingers, and then you tighten up by putting that in there, like that. Getting your spanner, your hex key, and tightening up like that. And then you've got something that's nice and tight there, shouldn't move. Every model you're going to make in Meccano starts with that basic mechanism of putting two pieces of metal together and joining them together with a nut and bolt. So that's how you put the parts together for any Meccano model. And what I'm going to do now is show you the instructions for the Meccano 5-in-1 motorbike set. All Meccano sets nowadays come with a similar set of instructions. There's a little bit of a guide to what I've just taken you through. And then you'll find at the start a parts list. Every Meccano piece is referred to by a particular code number. So this shape here is D595, and should you ever lose that and want to buy a replacement piece, you should just be able to type that into eBay and do a search, and you should be able to find that piece for sale individually. What I would also recommend is that when you first get the set, you have a count through the pieces and make sure you've got all the parts that are numbered here, because just occasionally they don't all turn up, and that's your chance to give Meccano a ring and ask them to send them out to you. And generally speaking, they're reasonably helpful in doing that if there's a couple of pieces missing. Most of the time you don't have a problem, but it's nice to know it's there if you do need it. The instructions to make this bike run to 13 stages. You can see here the start being numbered 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to make stage 1 and stage 2 so you can get an idea how they go together and take it forward from there. The first thing that you want to do is look at the parts list for the stage that you're doing, and that's here, and that tells you the parts that you need. We need one of that bolt S2, one nut, two of those bent metal pieces, one of this plastic piece, and one of this bent metal piece there. You get them all together so that you know once you've used them all you've finished and you're not forgetting to do anything. There are various different sizes of bolts. The way you know you've got the correct one is you can put it up against this drawing here and it will be exactly the same length and shape as you've got there. And the black ones are black on there, the zinc ones are different colour on there, as you can see. So there we go. I've got the pieces laid out in front of me that I'm going to need to make this stage of the model. So stage one then, what we're going to do is get this bolt here and we're going to put it through these 3 metal pieces ending up in this black piece here. We're going to follow that green line. Now what we do first of all is put the nut into this black piece. It's easy to do that first. This is going to be held in place by that space there, so let's do that. So that's ready to go, and then we put that through there, that through there, and this through here, and finally this comes into here. Doesn't matter. They'll come into the right angle when we get to the end, and I'm finger tightening to get it going, and then I get my hex key, tighten it up somewhat, and that just needs bringing to be on the size. Then tighten it up a little further, and I have my piece like that, and that's the end of stage one. All the pieces are used up, so we know we're finished, and that looks like that once it's put together. We then move on to stage two. Again, I've got all the pieces out as it shows in this list here. We've checked the size of the bolts against this picture here. We've got this at 5.8 that goes against that, and we've got this 12mm bolt that goes against there like that, so we know we've got the right bolts. And what we're also going to use in this is this piece here that we've just made up in the previous stage. So let's start with that. We hold that like that, we take the long bolt here, we take this piece here, look at this picture, we make sure that this bolt goes through the right hole in there, which is the second hole back, and then we're following that blue line. The next thing that we're putting in is one of those black circular pieces like that, and then that is going through this hole here. That's there, and then on there we're going to put a nut. You move the piece upside down and round about as suits you to be able to get the nut on, and you know this can be fiddly, can be challenging, it's part of the fun. And we start to tighten that up, and we can use this finger, or we can eventually put the spanner in to get it properly tight. Put the spanner in like that and then tighten up with that, and that's going nowhere, and that piece is on. We've then got to use these remaining 3 pieces for this part here, and that, just looking at that, that goes through there, and we're going to need this nut to be in this piece here to go through as shown there. So we pop that in there, and we put this in here, just fits nicely, and then we tighten it up with the hex key until that's tight. And you're left. That's the end of stage 2. That's what that looks like. And then, as I say, you carry on through the remaining stages for this model. You can see there's another 13 stages till you get to the end of the model. When you've done all 13 steps, this is the bike that you end up with. Now just bear in mind, these can be quite complicated to follow these instructions, and it's very easy to put a bolt through the wrong hole and just throw yourself out and find out that you've made a mistake 2 or 3 stages along. And at that point, you've got to just undo what you've done and go back a couple of stages. It's a little bit frustrating when that happens, but again, it's all part of the learning process. It's all part of what happens to us all in doing it. And eventually, you end up with something worth having. So when you've finished, you've got a model, you've got a toy, and that's great to play with for a while. But bear in mind that with Meccano, the point is more about the building of them than the playing with them. So the thing to do then is to break it down back to its pieces, put it in your box, and then start on the next model. This is a 5 model set. You've got 5 models to go at, and then you've got as many as your imagination can build you on top of that. And that's where the true joy of Meccano is. If you're interested in another Meccano set of about this size, then there's a video on the screen for you to go and have a look at right now. So click on that link and I'll see you there. Thanks very much for watching.